Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today's conversation is about more than tidying up a house. It's about making space. Space for calm, space for clarity, space to breathe again. As the years go by, our homes fill up, not just with objects, but with moments. Some joyful, some difficult, some that are hard to let go of. We collect things that carry our stories, things that once served us, comforted us, or reminded us of a time when life felt different. It's easy to hold on, harder to release. But eventually, a moment comes when we look around and realize that something feels heavy, not because our homes are full, but because they no longer feel like a reflection of who we are today. They echo with memories, yes, but sometimes those echoes can get loud. So let's talk, heart to heart, about what might be quietly cluttering through our home, and more importantly, about how to gently let go with kindness, with dignity, with care. This is not about getting rid of everything. It's about making space for peace and for yourself. Let's begin by walking slowly through the quiet rooms of your home, not just the physical spaces, but the emotional ones too. The shelves, the corners, the drawers filled with years of living. There is no shame here, no blame, just awareness. And maybe a little bit of curiosity. We start with unfinished projects. These are perhaps some of the most tender kinds of clutter because they often began with so much hope. A sweater that was half knitted for someone you care about. A box of photographs you meant to organize one day. Seeds still sitting in a packet beside gardening gloves that haven't touched soil in years. Each project held promise, a vision of how it would feel to complete it. But life, as it does, shifted. And somewhere along the way, those projects turned into reminders, not of creativity, but of incompletion. And with every glance, a quiet sense of guilt can arise. Not loud, just a soft tug at your heart that says, you didn't finish. But what if we let go of that expectation? What if we said, I started, I tried, and now it's okay to stop? What if we honor the effort, not just the outcome? Then there are items tied to memories that feel heavy, a drawer of things that belong to someone who's no longer here, a keepsake that reminds you of a time that was difficult. These items are more than just things. They hold emotions. Some are filled with warmth, but others, they stir a kind of quiet sorrow. And yet, we keep them, tucked away, as if by keeping them, we're holding on to something important. But sometimes those objects are not holding us gently. Sometimes they are anchors, not to memory, but to pain. And it's okay to notice that, to ask if you really need to keep everything to still remember what matters. Then come the duplicates. It happens slowly. An extra set of dishes because you thought you might need them. Two or three spatulas because you forgot the others were in the drawer, and another pair of reading glasses just in case. Over time, these extras add up. You don't really see them, but they take up space all the same. The drawer sticks, the cupboard overflows, and somehow your home begins to feel tighter. Not because it's small, but because too many things are competing for room. It's not about having only one of everything. It's about having only what serves your life now. Paper clutter might be one of the most deceptive forms of disorganization because it's easy to tell ourselves we need it. The bills, the receipts, the warranty from a blender you no longer own, the flyers you meant to read, the greeting cards you didn't know how to throw away. It all stacks up on counters, in drawers, in boxes, and somehow the weight of that paper becomes a background hum in your day. You see it, you ignore it, but you feel it, like mental noise you can't quite tune out. And when the piles grow, they start to send a message that there's too much, that you can't keep up. But what if you could give yourself permission to let it go? What if you trusted yourself to release what no longer serves? Old or outdated decor is another quiet contributor. The curtains that faded over time, The artificial plants that once looked fresh. The rug that has been in the same spot for 20 years, but now just feels tired. These pieces may have once brought joy. They reflected who you were then. But seasons change. You change. And what once felt like a good fit may now feel like something you've simply gotten used to. Your home deserves to reflect who you are today. Not out of vanity, but out of respect for the life you're living right now. Books and magazines are another category where intention often outweighs reality. Shelves full of titles you meant to read. Stacks of articles saved for a day when you had more time. But that time may never have arrived. And now those pages aren't inspiring. They're quietly reminding you of something undone. And maybe you keep them because they feel like a promise, a vision of your future self who reads more, learns more, engages more. But what if your real self, the one sitting here now, is enough? What if you only kept what speaks to you now in this season? Clothes are an intimate kind of clutter because they're tied to identity, to memory, to shape and season and stage of life. A jacket that once fit perfectly but hasn't been worn in years. A pair of shoes that used to be your favorite but are now too tight or too heavy or just not you anymore. It can be so hard to let go, not because you need them, but because they remind you of who you were. But your worth doesn't live in your closet. You are not less because something no longer fits. You are becoming, and your space can reflect that. Then there are the just-in-case items, the flashlight that doesn't work, the cables for electronics you no longer own, the broken thing you meant to fix. We keep these things for security, for safety, for a future we can't predict. But meanwhile, they crowd our shelves and garages and closets. And that future moment we're preparing for, it rarely comes. And if it does, it doesn't ask for clutter. It asks for calm, for clarity, for presence, when he says. Finally, we come to furniture. Not just the couches and chairs, but the heavy pieces. The ones that were once necessary when there were more people around. The dining table with too many seats. The sideboard that holds nothing you use. These pieces may be beautiful, may hold memories, but now they take up more than physical space. They take energy. They take movement. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to ask if they still belong in your daily life, or if it's okay to lighten the room, to make space for ease. These 9 things, unfinished projects, emotionally heavy items, duplicates, paper, outdated decor, unread materials, old clothes, just-in-case clutter, and oversized furniture, aren't bad. They're just signs. Signs that your home may be ready for a gentle shift, that you may be ready to create a space that better supports the person you are today. Not because you need to do more, but because you deserve to feel lighter. You deserve a space that lets you breathe deeply, rest fully, and move forward gently. Now that we've gently looked at the things that may be weighing your home down, let's shift into a softer, more hopeful place. This is where the healing begins, not through grand gestures or sudden overhauls, but through small, quiet choices. One moment at a time, one drawer, one decision, one act of release. Let's start with something simple. Begin small. When we look at an entire room or even an entire shelf, it can feel overwhelming. The weight of it is not just physical, it's emotional. So don't try to tackle everything. Don't make a list a mile long. Just pick one thing, a single drawer, the top of a nightstand, a corner of a closet. Let that be enough for today. When you allow yourself to begin with small things, you build trust with yourself. You show yourself that it's okay to start, and in that beginning, you often find more energy than you thought you had. When you find something with meaning, pause. Instead of forcing yourself to let it bite you, says, can this memory live in a different way? Can I take a photo of it? Can I write a short note about what it meant to me? Sometimes the object is a stand-in for a moment, but the moment, what you felt, what it meant to you, can live on without the physical thing. And in letting go, you're not discarding memory. You're honoring it in a lighter, more sustainable way. You're carrying it differently, more gently. When you're unsure whether to keep something, try asking yourself, does this still serve me? Right now, not 5 years ago, not someday in the future, but today. Does it support the way I live my life now? Does it bring me peace, or does it ask something of me I no longer have to give? This question is powerful, not because it demands answers, but because it invites honesty. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to grow past the things that once made sense. Life changes. So should the things that surround us. When you do let go, consider where your items might go next. Donating can be a healing act, not because you're giving something up, but because you're giving something forward. That coat you no longer wear might warm someone else. That book you didn't finish might become someone else's favorite. The kitchenware you no longer need might become part of someone else's new beginning. When you frame letting go as an act of generosity, it feels less like a loss and more like a gift. For the things you truly want to keep, create sacred space for them. A memory box, a small drawer, a shelf that holds just the things that mean the most. Not everything has to go, but what stays should be cared for, treated with intention. Because when we give our most meaningful belongings the space and reverence they deserve, they shine brighter. And we remember why they mattered in the first place. Boundaries are a beautiful way to bring order into your home. Not restrictions, just quiet limits that help protect your peace. One box for old letters, one shelf for extra linens, one basket for cozy blankets. When everything has its place, your mind can breathe easier. You're not searching, you're not shuffling, you're not guessing, you're simply living. And your home supports that living. Look around your home and ask yourself, does this space reflect who I am now? Not who I was in another chapter, not who others expected me to be, but who I am today, in this moment. Because this version of you deserves to feel at ease in their own space. You deserve a home that mirrors your present life, your needs, your comforts, your joys. Then as you move through this process, remember to pause and celebrate, even if all you did today was clear off a single table. That matters. Even if you simply decided what you will sort through tomorrow, that counts. Change doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in steps. And each one deserves acknowledgement. You're not falling behind. You're honoring your pace. And finally, invite peace into your space. Open a window and let the light in. Turn on music that soothes you, light a candle or brew a cup of tea. This isn't just about organization. It's about how your space feels, how it welcomes you, how it holds you. You are creating more than order. You're creating an atmosphere of care. You don't have to do it all in one day. You don't have to do it perfectly. All you have to do is start and trust that every small step you take is shaping something beautiful. Not just a tidier home, but a lighter heart. If this spoke to you, I'd love for you to be part of this growing community. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This space is for healing, for reflection, for real connection. Thank you for being here.